All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to break down one of the most efficient power plants in Pakistan. This is a massive machine that, quite literally, keeps an entire industrial region humming. This is the story of Atlas Power. But first, let's start with a really fundamental question. When you have countless factories, bustling businesses, and millions of homes all hungry for electricity, how on earth do you provide that much power and do it reliably 24/7?
Well, in this case, the answer is this number right here, 225 megawatts. To put that in perspective, that's enough juice to power hundreds of thousands of homes and keep the wheels of industry spinning non-stop. So where does all this power come from? It comes from this one single facility. It's strategically located in Sheikhupura, right in the industrial heart of Pakistan's Punjab province. And this is Atlas Power Limited.
So what is this powerhouse exactly, and why was it even built in the first place? Well, that brings us to our first section, where we'll look at its identity and its core purpose.
First things first, you've got to understand that Atlas Power is what's known as an IPP, or an independent power producer. This isn't some government-run facility. Nope. It's a private company, part of the giant Atlas Group, that built this plant for one specific reason: to generate a whole lot of electricity and sell it directly to Pakistan's national grid.
And they've been at this for a while. The company officially got started back in 2007, and just 2 years later, boom, it was up and running, feeding power into the grid. A huge moment came in 2019 when they paid off all their initial project loans. That was a big deal, proving the whole model was a financial success. And today, it's a cornerstone of the entire system.
So here's the bottom line. For more than 15 years, this single plant has been an incredibly consistent and reliable source of power. It's been underpinning the economic activity and the daily life of one of Pakistan's most vital regions.
So, how does it all actually work? This is the fun part. Let's head inside the engine room and take a look at the incredible German engineering that makes this whole thing tick. This quote really just paints the perfect picture, doesn't it? The power here isn't coming from one single giant turbine. Oh no, it comes from 11 of these absolute behemoths, diesel engines all built in Germany by man. And get this, each one is about the size of a 2-story house. Just try to imagine that. But the real genius here isn't just the sheer size of the engines, it's how they're used. The plant runs on what's called a combined cycle process. Now, in simple terms, this means they get a second shot at making power from the exact same batch of fuel by capturing all the waste heat. It's kind of like getting free energy.
Here's how that works, broken down into 3 simple steps. First, you have the primary drive. Those 11 massive engines burn fuel oil, their crankshafts spin generators, and that's where most of the electricity comes from. Step 2 is heat recovery. The exhaust coming off those engines is crazy hot. We're talking 400 degrees Celsius. Instead of just letting that heat escape, they capture every bit of it. And that leads to step 3, the secondary drive. That captured heat is used to boil water, which creates high-pressure steam, and that steam spins a completely separate turbine, generating even more electricity. Genius!
Now, this is where you can really see the magic happen. You can see the heavy lifting is done by those big diesel engines, churning out about 214 megawatts. But look at that second bar. That's an extra 11 megawatts generated purely from waste heat. It costs them nothing in extra fuel. That right there is what makes this plant so incredibly efficient. And all this efficiency, it gives them a huge practical advantage. See, in Pakistan, the national grid uses a system called the merit order. Basically, they call on the cheapest, most efficient plants to generate power first. Because Atlas squeezes every last drop of energy out of its fuel, it's way up high on that list. That means it's one of the first calls they make to keep the lights on across the country.
But a plant like this is so much more than just a collection of machines. So let's talk about the human systems behind it all, the people and the philosophy that make it all work. They call it the Atlas Way.
It really takes a highly organized team, a well-oiled machine of people. You've got the operations crew working in shifts 24/7. The maintenance department is split into these specialized sub-teams for everything from the massive engines to the complex computer controls. And then there's a supercritical HSQ department making sure everything is done safely and sustainably. And this table gives you a great snapshot of the corporate structure. Since it's a private company, it's organized with a clear management grading system. Right at the top, you have the strategic leadership. That vision flows down to the department heads, then to the engineers who handle the day-to-day technical stuff, and finally to the operators and technicians on the ground who have their hands on the equipment. The guiding philosophy behind all of this is something called Kaizen. It's a Japanese concept that's really central to the whole Atlas Group culture. It just means a relentless focus on continuous improvement, always looking for small ways to make every process a little better, a little safer, and a little more efficient.
And you can see that Kaizen philosophy reflected right here in their official mission. The goals are super clear. Deliver power safely and reliably. Always act with integrity. Be a place where people want to work and be a positive force in the community.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. Let's zoom out and look at the legacy of this plant. In the grand scheme of things, why does this one facility matter so much?
Well, for one thing, it operates at an absolutely world-class level. The plant holds these major international ISO certifications for quality, for environmental management, and for occupational health and safety. This isn't just paper on a wall, it's a signal of a deep commitment to doing things the right way.
Its impact is huge and touches so many areas. It provides that stable, baseload power that the grid absolutely depends on. It fuels the economy of the entire Punjab province. On a technical level, it really set a new standard for what engine-based power plants could do in Pakistan. And beyond just making electricity, it gives back to the local area through its corporate foundation.
When you get right down to it, Atlas Power is more than just a power station. It's really a case study. It's a shining example of how private investment in world-class engineering can come together to build a critical piece of a nation's infrastructure and do it successfully.
And all of this leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. As the energy world continues to evolve and shift, what is the future role for these hyper-efficient, incredibly reliable, but still fossil-fueled plants like this one? How will they fit into the grid of tomorrow?